Hey everybody, we're very pleased to introduce you to the very first of the Investment for All podcasts. I'm Edric, accompanied by David here today. Investment for All is the project that David and I are working on to help our communities to keep them updated on key developments on the economy and financial markets and help them to learn skills to make better financial decisions. We're lifting off with the hot topic of inflation.
Thank you, Edric. Today, we will discuss the ongoing inflation that is burning down the market. It seems to be causing a lot of trouble lately.
Of course, David. Did you realize that back to school shopping costs will increase 20% this year and school lunch price will increase 10% in the upcoming fall semester based on some news survey? A lot of low income families will face more cost hikes for the school season. Could you tell everyone what is inflation?
Inflation is when the prices of goods and services rise. This is equivalent to the declining of purchasing power of a consumer over time. Loss of purchasing power hit especially hard on the quality of living for hundreds of millions of low-income families globally. For example, a low-income family could have previously bought in 10 meals for a school lunch, but now with inflation, they can only buy 9 lunches for their kids, and the kids will suffer from hunger.
David, can you name some advantages and disadvantages of this inflation?
Actually, rich people will benefit from inflation as they own a lot of stocks, assets, and commodities. As inflation goes up, those asset values go up, which is why the rich will benefit the most. But for the poor, they will actually be hit very hard during the high inflation years as their purchasing power will be cut in half very quickly.
Mhm.
So, Edric, what causes inflation?
Inflation occurs when central bank prints more money than the products produced in the society. Last 15 years, the US central bank balance sheet increased 9 times from the 1 trillion to 9 trillion. You can see how much the US dollar was printed in the last 15 years. This is the key reason for the high inflation today.
Could you tell me what the current state of inflation is?
Sure. The cost of buying a house is up 40 to 50% this year. Rents are up 20 to 30%. Gas prices are up almost 50%. The list goes on. Based on Larry Summers' study, today's inflation is as bad as the 1970s. David, could you tell me why inflation is so high right now?
Today's unanchored, super high inflation is the result of the crazy, easy money policies by central banks and central governments over the last 40 years.
Is the economy already taking a downturn as a result of this inflation?
Yes, in fact, the real GDP decreased at an annual rate of 0.9% in the second quarter of 2022. In the first quarter, the real GDP decreased 1.6%.
Okay.
Edric, how do you think currently high inflation is affecting those low income families?
Well, these families become very poor quickly as their purchasing power is reduced at a fast rate. The longer inflation stays high, the bigger the risk that inflation expectations move up, which then feeds back into higher prices.
Precisely. I even heard low income families and schools are having a tougher time getting nutritious meals due to much higher food costs. In fact, some students and families will skip meals to deal with the cost of living crisis. On top of that, the nutrition quality on the lunch plate decreased a lot and is affecting millions of students.
Really?
Yes, in addition, since early May, the share of back to school shoppers planning to spend more than $500 on their children's supplies has decreased from 25% to 11%, much of that due to inflation.
David, what is being done to stop this inflation?
To generally combat inflation, the central bank would need to take stronger action to bring inflation down by raising interest rates and keeping them higher for a longer period. In addition, the central bank has to reduce the money supply and credit to prevent inflation from getting out of control and to keep the economy running smoothly.
Well, what about the low income people? What can the low income people do?
Low-income people should prepare for the worst for longer. For example, there have been many times that were similar to the 1970s and early 1980s, in which there was high inflation for more than 10 years. They should learn investment skills to do well in the persistent high inflation times. This will be our discussion topic for our next podcast.
Thank you, everyone, for spending time with us. It was our pleasure having this conversation.
If you are interested, please follow us for more.
That concludes our little chat for today. Hopefully, you will join us next time. Thank you so much and have a great day.